you are right now, this is the Cardinal Talk Show, a show that comes to you on Lolwe TV every other particular Sunday time like this, where we talk matters politics as they seem to unravel every single day, every single week in this country and beyond. That is why we're sitting here every day with different guys to give us different perspectives, and sometimes to bring in experts to delve into matters in terms of analysis. Yes, sometimes we've got to bring politicians because it's about politics anyway, and that's why today again I have with me a guest here who's never been here at all. However, I have one who is now a regular face here as a pundit in terms of governance expert, and I want to welcome you all in this show. Karibuni sana.
Asante sana, thank you.
Now, as usual, we must start with what is African or what is procedural. We get to know people and their names, where they come from, and perhaps what they do. Welcome, sir. Let me give you this opportunity to move on.
Yeah, I am Mwalimu Orero, currently vying as an MP for Kibra constituency. Before that, I was a principal at Lolwe High School.
You are the popular Orero principal of Dagoretti.
You never met him. I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay, now that you've mentioned Dagoretti,
yes,
the name seems to be actually ringing a serious bell now.
Yes.
Yeah. Oreros could be many.
Yeah, but the most known in Nairobi is Mwalimu Orero. But we are many. We are 10 of us.
10 Oreros.
Yes, 10 Oreros.
Okay. Then that's a crazy number of names around the same profession.
No, I'm the only Mwalimu. The others are in different professions.
Great. Thank you very much and welcome to the show. On my right, on my left, brother.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Kenyatta Duty. I'm Governance, Policy and Advocacy Consultant. Thank you.
Thank you, Karibu sana. Governance, policy, and we really have to get to know how things are supposed to be governed. And even before we delve into this, we just got another 85 billion from World Bank. And you're a governance expert. Is it even prudent to have loans this deep into an election year, in your opinion? Just an off the cuff.
Yeah, off the cuff. Yeah, loans could be gotten anytime in the day, depending on what is the intended objective of that loan. Is it going to serve the intended objective, or then there will be, of course, different assumptions and analysis that this loan perhaps is coming to, like you are getting it from the grapevine, that this loan is kind of ill-timed.
You know, given our appetite for loans as a country, sometimes it raises eyebrows as to why do we really need this at this very end of the regime. But then we just leave it like that.
Maybe it depends whether it's short-term loan or long-term loan. Okay. Normally when it is short-term, there are a lot of consequences. The paying period rate is normally higher than when it is long-term. But again, it depends on really what is it for the election.
Correct.
Is it for post-election? So that is something maybe we cannot.
They call it post-pandemic.
Post-pandemic.
Yeah, which again leaves me with a lot of how many post-pandemic situations do we have really? But that is a discussion for another day. Everything what we have today. Yes, welcome to the show. Today's show is all about party nominations, and we'll also look at why IEBC is rushing in particular laws that they would want to see passed before the elections actually happen. Remember, it's about 4 to 5 months to the general elections, and it's sometimes really dangerous to have laws that are being placed into the game so much late in it. However, that's why we're having this gentleman here. One a politician, one is an expert, and we want to hear, this politician is also a teacher. And first of all, how is Kibra?
Good as always, the bedrock and the bedroom.
Bedroom, yeah. When you say bedroom,
yeah, Baba. But the bedrock of politics in this country.
Is the bedrock of politics.
In this country.
And Raila's bedroom.
And Raila's bedroom.
Wow, what a rhyme of adjectives there. But then, what we are discussing here is that party nominations. Your party, which I believe should be ODM, I don't think there's any other party you would be running in Azimio in Kibra, unless it's ODM.
You are right.
You are doing ODM.
Of course, Kibra is ODM, and you can't be in any other party. That's why it is a bedroom.
No, when you say you can't be in any other party, you're negating the principle of multi-party. in this country?
In this context, I'm saying a party which can win.
A party, okay. The most popular party,
yes.
No problem. Now, nominations are coming sometimes next month, and before we get to the nominations, a lot of things have come up, and especially for ODM as a party. Just this week we had upon the conclusion of party nomination payment, then the following day we had the National Election Board of ODM disclosing that there will be direct nominations, there will be, I think, zoning here, there will be opinion polls done here and there. All this actually shocked many aspirants, and ODM has had this baggage of nomination fiasco. As a candidate who is running in these elections, how do you take this information?
Now, first of all, the only and the most popular party as a single party at the moment is ODM.
More than UDA?
UDA, you know, it has not even gone to election.
Okay.
So you don't even have members of parliament.
Yeah, they have one. They have
just one or two
from Kiamba.
Yeah, from Kiamba.
Yeah.
That is just one.
Yeah.
But in the current government, in the current parliament, the most popular party now is ODM. And when you see people jostling for power in a particular party, it means that that is the most popular party. Now, there are history on these parties. And the only party, like now when we have a handshake, other parties, some are briefcase parties, they must combine first before they come and they negotiate with ODM as a single party. But as ODM, we go as only one party. It means that this party, everybody else will want to come through in this party. Now, when we say that it has a baggage of nomination fiasco in nominations, you realize that currently the IBC requested even for about 15 billion just to carry an election. So our election in ODM is normally like a general election in this country. And you can imagine a party that is carrying out election the whole country, the kind of money that it requires and the logistics that it requires. Sometimes because we have been in opposition and the government has never been assisting us with the logistics of a party primaries. Now, this logistics assistance is what we have been lacking in ODM. And this fiasco has normally been there because of the logistical problem. And I think also because of the capacity of the people that are entrusted with this exercise. And most importantly, you realize that some of these nominations are done quite when the elections are very, very close. They don't give people time to reflect, to appeal, and also to get proper nominations. So you will find that in areas that the nominations have not been done well, many people become disenfranchised. So that is why we say it is a fiasco, a nomination. But most of the time, 90% of the people who have been elected in the primaries, they always win in ODM election. Even if those complaints are there, but 90% of people who have had the opportunity to represent the ODM party in the election, they always win. So what it means is that the party primaries are normally more competitive than the general election, because some of these parties have their strongholds. So when you go to their stronghold, there are many, many competent people who can be MPs. But because of these nomination rules and the timelines, you realize that only one particular candidate can be elected. And when you beat about 10 people in a nomination, and those people also have the followers, they realize that when they complain, everybody will think that the nomination was not done right. But it is just because that there's a lot of interest in these areas. Like ODM has been dominant in various regions. Let me say Western, Nyanza, Nairobi, Coast, sometimes Northeastern. So you realize that in these areas we have so many of our members that would want to have be the flag bearer in this region. So when they are left, there's a lot of noise about the nomination exercise. But really, the party as a party has been trying very much to avoid the fallout, to avoid the noise that is after the election. And that is why ODM still remains the most formidable party. But now, I think you are saying now that we are approaching the nomination, I think what is our feeling? as a party, after the last general election, when there was a lot of outcry, the party went ahead and removed the last National Electoral Board. They were all replaced by the new Electoral Board, hoping that that kind of outcry this time might not be there, because we have new people. If there were any errors that were made by the other people, they would try and rectify before the elections. And I believe that as we near to the nomination, they are putting their house in order so that we don't have those outcries as before.
Well, Mr. Rudy, yes. Let me bring you in and ask you this very simple question. Do you think, even as it is right now, these parties are going to do anything different? Let's just begin from what you know. You've been around this country for some time, and you're a policy and governance expert. From their formations, from their policy orientations, even looking at the way they transact their businesses, do you expect anything different this time around?
Yeah, as I come to that, I want to just weigh into what Mwalimu Rero has shared. One, I agree that we normally conduct party primaries within a very short timeline. And if you trace back right from the Cardinal report of 2009, which gave a lot of recommendations, which the government has tried, which again, come 2010, Constitution gave us some kind of leeway. Legislative work which was done thereafter helped in at least building parties, because here comes money coming from the taxpayer goes to the exchequer. And so Mwalimu is not accurate to say that political parties like ODM don't get funding. They get funding from the what? From the electorates, and that money is coming from the exchequer. That is enough, or not enough, but can help the party to run the affairs. The last 4 years, we've seen that bit of arithmetic based on the what? Numerical strength, both from the county assembly up to the national assembly and the Senate. And so that has given bigger parties to galvanize their membership in terms of representation. So that has given Jubilee and ODM. Remember some of the problems that were being raised by NASA, that ODM would get money and not remit, which was again kind of disputed. So that notwithstanding, there is some funding that comes from the exchequer to help the political parties to function. Number two, again, it's not that accurate that aspirants are asked to pay for some money fee called nomination fee, which would aid in the process of what? Conducting all these party primaries. But we normally have this kind of catch-22. Every political party would want to do the nomination last. Why? Because of fear of jump shipping.
Falling out.
Yes, because if you expose your candidate first, then you'll be a marked player. And as a result, each political party would want to do, most of the time they're done at the tail end of the timelines by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission, IEBC. And that has always led to a lot of squabbles. It's not only in ODM. I disagree with that fiasco, because we saw the bungled Jubilee nominations of last polls. And that is common, because a beautiful girl will attract many what? Cheaters. So you'll find if people are having a lot of aspirants in ODM, that means it's got what? A lot of what? Value. And that climbs it. And that said, I think there was a recommendation by Dr. Muma for the ODM that there was need to have a staggered nomination. That would have really helped.
I think that's what they're proposing.
Yeah, but for now, because we are getting every single day, according to the Political Parties Act, Amendment Act 2022, from 9th of next month, April, 120 days should be now blocked for the what?
General elections.
Parties are meant to have conducted their primaries and stuff. So you find bringing these new laws, or as IEBCS is proposing, might be counterproductive to the electorates and the aspirants. Now, you asked that will we have something different from the political parties? As I said again the other time, we do not have strong political parties in this country per se. We still do have election vehicles. which are used to get to the elections, and then they are either abandoned. That's why you see ODM is now the only longest party apart from Cardinal, which has withstood the time from 2005 up to date, because they're bungled. And that's why I don't expect, because you see someone today is in ODM, I mean today is in Jubilee, tomorrow is another party, and see the same stuff. So by and large, there will be more or less. Each political party will be waiting and see what the other political party is going to do. So there will be more or less cut and paste, in my view. So
in your view, you don't see any significant shift from what has happened previously?
Well, there will be some change, because we've got a new Elections Act, Amendment Act, which stipulates what to be done. And you asked Mwalimu Rero if at all is aggrieved by the news that is going on in the grapevine that the party has got that. But that's again the highest decision-making body of the ODM is the NDC, and the NDC passed those legislation that now you are either allowed to use what? Direct consensus or delegate system or universal suffrage for multiple parties. So I think there's no harm in ODM bringing that, because that is the decision that the highest decision-making body arrived at.
Then that now gets it even more juicier, if it's not so murky in this sense. Mwalimu, you are a participant in these elections.
Yes.
Are you comfortable with these decisions? First of all, you know you've got an interest. Away from ODM, you want to represent people of Kibra in your own capacity as Mwalimu. Then number two, you need a vehicle to do that, where you subscribe ideologically or whichever way, which is ODM. But up to this moment you're seated here, what's your feeling, your honest feeling about this? Because we've seen it over and over. Right now, a lot of persons have been apprehensive to get into ODM because of this very one issue. Let me talk about ODM because it's the one that actually has sounded more serious about this nomination. The other parties, everybody seems to be...
it's the most beautiful girl.
His parties. People walk with them in their pockets as parties.
Okay, how do you want to mention it? It's okay if you want to mention it. But up to this moment, do you honestly think this time round you are going to see something different?
The problem with me is that I've been in that party since its inception.
Some like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, so I think I've worked with it. But when you look at the both manifesto and constitution of either Jubilee or ODM, there are phrases that gives the party the authority to nominate, even without election, nominate the person they feel carries the ideology of their party, the ideology, the aspirations, and the interests of the party. So before you join a political party, you must realign, and you must have the same mental orientation towards the ideology of that political party. And you must look at those processes of nomination. And when they say that you consensus, now I think they have been looking at ways that they might have peaceful elections, where consensus means there are people really who just want to be known. They are not serious contenders. And they might be asked, now that we have known, why don't you just support the most popular candidate? Maybe that is in their wildest imagination will bring peaceful election. Then the second one is about the delegates. In many parties, like when we are looking at our presidential candidate, we just use the delegate system to endorse. Like the other time we were at Kasarani, I was part of the delegates which endorsed the fifth, the right honorable, because we are the delegates and we endorsed him as our presidential candidate. So sometimes the party would rather have the delegates in various constituencies to endorse a particular candidate, because those delegates represent the interests of the people that that person is going to serve in that constituency. So, but democracy normally can be exercised in different ways. But normally in Kenya, we always believe that people must be elected directly. And that is going to be the problem. This is a culture that we have developed. So when you bring new ideas, people always look at it that there must be something wrong somewhere. People are so suspicious about the changes.
Let me just have a joint.
Okay. I just wanted to connect to this. Before he comes in, Mwalimu, ODM is a party that most people watch this TV station also are aligned to. And truth be said, we've seen, like in the recent by-elections that actually went down, like in Msambweni and other places, in Ugenya and these other areas, where if people feel that nominations are not done well, and like you say, they want to participate directly, that is their feeling, that if they participate directly, then their voices are heard. Because perhaps civic education on other means of democracy is not yet given to them adequately. But now, in a situation where ODM has been losing consistently to other parties, or even to guys who are in ODM and left, for reasons of nomination, what would you advise about this? Because it seems the factions of this party dwindling each and every year.
I think that must have been because of the national electoral board. Because it is them who must always look at also the popular candidate and conduct the elections fairly, freely and fairly. And in my thinking, that must have been one of the reasons why the National Election Board was disbanded, or they were all sent packing, and a new team was brought. I've just heard my friend to say that Dr. Muma wrote a report about the election. Incidentally, it is the same Dr. Muma now who has been chosen to head the electoral board. I think they want her to use what she had found out as grievances or what was affecting the party. So she has been given now the mandate to implement her own ideas and recommendations. We say you are given the need to hang yourself.
Yeah, you can put the noose around your neck.
Yes. So she's there to put it around her neck.
I want to weigh in, but just before that, I think it's inaccurate to say that the ODM has been having lost fortunes every day. Yes, it's only Msambweni and Ugenya, but of which Ugenya case was more of a retention. Kisi, ODM performed so well, and they got. So they won two, then some wards, several wards. Even Ganda in Kilifi, they also won that ward, which was quite contested. Money was poured, but there were some other underlying factors that constituted to even their loss in Msambweni, which I think the National Elections Board, plus the highest decision-making party, NEC, sat and did some kind of ramifications. Ratifications. That aside, we are getting into a point where we must understand that most of our politics are done at the grassroots. And every political party has got its strongholds. Even if you went to the West, there are states which are just blue. There are states which are just red. And those states which are blue, fighting for the party ticket is like a guarantee of you being sworn in. So it's not new. In as much as we are still growing, you will see the same case happening. People are fighting to their last energy for either wipe a ticket in Lower Eastern. The same we will find in a Kalenjin nation right now with the order. So because we have like another thing which has been a problem, if we could stagger even these elections, because primaries, we do 5 primaries in one day, which is quite costly. We do nominations for MCA, we do nominations for Member of National Assembly, for Women Rep, for Senate, and the Senator and the Governor. All these can sometimes be very expensive for a political party. And I think I agree to a large extent in political science 101. What should be done is a lot of awareness and political socialization that these people, that can help us. If we could have maybe 3 in one season, then another 3, but that would really help the political party to manage. But now you are one returning officer, you want to oversee 6 nominations in one day. Sometimes it can be so overwhelming too. So we can also at least empathize and sympathize with the political parties, especially at a time what is always gruesome is handling party primaries.
Mwalimu, you are going into this, before we go to the break, you are going into this, and it's nice talking to you because I know you are feeling the pinch, you are feeling the weight, you are feeling the excitement where possible of these nominations. ODM says it would be started like in a month's period of time. There are places they want to use different models, like where somebody is popular, there's direct ticket, where there is no contested election, there's direct ticket. There are places that have been zoned, others have been done through opinion polls. Are you okay with this now? Would it really help to subvert this too much tension that actually happens in one day for nominations?
I think as a politician, people are always wary of the new techniques. But I would say, because for you to be in a party, you must align your mind with their vision and with their rules and nomination rules. And we were given time that if you are not satisfied with the nomination rules of a particular party, then you bolt out and move to another political party, or you go for independent party. So when you see somebody like myself who has paid the nomination fee and has been campaigning, it means that I have looked at the nomination rules of my political party and I've realized that I can conform within the requirements of those nomination rules. And again, I want to tell you, it's not for the first time I'm vying. I was there during the by-election in Kibra last time. I just want to remind you, if you were keenly there, okay, they said I was number 2, but I think I was number 1 because of just
every politician is number 1.
So they always say,
I'm confirming.
every politician, when they say you get 5 votes, you still say that
5,000.
I was nilinyang'anya.
Exactly. And there's no number 2 important. There's no number 1.
You're going for the breaker.
You're right,
that's always the mantra politicians like using. I'm going to say makura haikutosha. And there's no problem with that. Let's go for this short break. When we come back, like you see, and you understand, it's going to be very, very, very steamy as we come back, because it's politics 101, and this is the way we talk it in Cardinal Talk. It's nothing that is less than this. It's the Cardinal Talk Show. Welcome back, viewer. If you're joining right now, we are now doing the second segment of the Cardinal Talk Show. This show, like I told you before we went for the break, sometimes gets so steamy because of matters sometimes that are politics. And you know, politics sometimes is so emotive and can always generate so much heat in discussions. And that is what was actually happening here. I was laughing at the break and Mwalimu says that he was a candidate in an election, in a by-election in Kibra, only to find on the voting day or on the nomination day that it was missing even in the party register. He's been there, he's been a member of this party for 20 years, and then on that material day, you find your name out. It is this kind of intrigues that you're talking about in terms of nominations and just how credible these things are. Do we really need nominations, honestly, or we just need to find how we're getting candidates into the elections? I think I bring in. I think I bring you in on this.
Yeah, as we were saying during the commercial break, that sometimes names missing out of high value voters, that is aspirants or candidates that matter, is not always by default, but by design. Yeah, and it's by design because of some vested interest. And when I trace back what you said earlier, 2007, Baba's name was missing in the register, and so until voting had to take a bit of a stop, until they had to go back and get the green book, and then finally the name was found in the green book. So when you get to that level, it's a big problem, because there should be a timeline for cleaning up the register, either for the political parties or for the IEBC. They should stop at a particular timeline, registration of members. Then there should be a period again of just cleaning up the data, then counter-checking, then now releasing the final list. But this again sometimes is safeguarded, because once this list is exposed out there, then the possibility of people tampering with it can be another. So it's
but let me ask you a question.
Right.
Why would a body like IEBC that is vested with this task allow such like machinations to occur within it? I I mean, that one points to professional negligence, or should I say it's absolute and deliberate sabotage of the process of elections.
It's
it's criminal.
It's incompetence, I agree, because if you look at it's incompetence, and name it's failure of doing your duty, because the mandate is well defined in law what they should be doing. But sometimes people just do it. You know, this is Kenya. Sometimes even in our constitution, you know what happened in Article 34, 35, I'm forgetting, where someone sneaked just one word the night that the Constitution 2010 was going to the printer. So people can always do their own stuff. There are those with ill motives just to either disqualify someone or to achieve a particular motive. But that is human being.
Mwalimu, you're going for another one. Last time your name wasn't even there in the
You should check that this time around.
This time around, what are you going to do? The second time around, that would be fun.
What has been my motivation is that was a by-election, the time was too short. Maybe we didn't have time to peruse through the voters register, check and verify the voters register, with periods too short. But now, even yesterday, I'm going to try and check whether my name is there.
Macho.
Yes, Nico Macho, Nico Gangen. So I don't think such a mistake is ever going to happen again, especially to me and also to other candidates. It is just necessary that we must respect people, especially people who have taken their time, resources, to come and vie in a particular party. They only vie in that party, one, as the late Cardinal would say, loyalty, fidelity, and faithfulness in that party. So before you come to a particular party, you must be loyal to that party. With all that loyalty, then some very mischievous personnel would want to go and sneak or delete the name of a serious candidate.
Crazy.
It is crazy that to use the least word. So I don't expect that this time such crazy idea that happenings will come.
For ODM party, you are informed. Your own candidates crying fall of this amount, this magnitude, it points to a serious negligence. And if it's not negligence, then ODM must remain so vigilant about what they're going to do. And not only ODM, all the parties, because politics is politics. And sometimes you never know who is mischievous to want to do something bad. To save the name of the party, reputation of the party, perception of the party, it's inherent upon the party handlers to check into things like this, so that primaries don't become like they are another end of Sodom and Gomorrah in this country. I want to also bring you in as a governance expert. I was asking a question here. In other democracies, in countries like Swiss, if you do a comparative analysis, in countries like Swiss, you know, there are never contested elections. You know, people come and say, this time around, please represent us in parliament. And those countries are so peaceful, they're so developed. Why is ours here a cutthroat competition? Why must people die because of fighting for positions in politics? Why must it be so high octane to a level where it becomes a bloodletting exercise in a country?
Going back to the works of the Socrates, the Plato, they said man is a political animal. We have politics at home, at church, the state, everywhere we go, because it's about resources. It's about who gets what, when, where, and how. Because of that, our country, Kenya, is seriously immersed and baptized into politicking, not politics. So much so that you find we finish an election cycle by 9th of August. And then before swearing in, or immediately after swearing in of the people who have been elected, then another crop begin there. So we are politicking 24/7. As a result, even our revenue streams are always depleted, and we spend a lot of time because our people love too much of politicking but not politics. So again, a lot of awareness need to be done. Sometimes I agree what Molim was saying earlier, that democracy can be guided. People can be represented directly or indirectly. And guided democracy would help a lot, even in saving resources. For instance, if people could come and agree, it will save the party and the taxpayers' money instead of running around doing all those kind of stuff. But we are not yet there. I believe we'll be there by maybe 2037 about. But as at now, it's a high octave thing because it's about resources. Because as this guy said that it's our time to eat. People believe that when you have got your person and the highest decision-making table, then it's your turn, which must be demystified because you are a resident, you are a citizen by birth or by registration, you pay taxes, you deserve service delivery, irrespective of your party affiliation.
I want to weigh a bit also, when we are in a third world country and we are still, our democracy, we are still midwifing democracy in third world countries. And democracy comes with equitable distribution of wealth. When you reach a certain level and you have attained a certain level of democracy, then that level can only come when we have equitable distribution of wealth. And that is where the devolution has come in. If we were to implement this devolution to the latter, that urge for even joining politics might disappear because people will have equal wealth. In our country, we believe that it is only politics where we can get wealth. Everything is about politics. Resources is about politics. But I believe as we move on, as we midwife proper democracy, proper and sustainable democracy, we believe that these people moving only in politics to gain resources will end. So, as the father of devolution, the fifth is the father of devolution. And when he takes over, I think it's going to ensure that we have proper devolution and people will have wealth at their homes. Those who will not have will have Babake.
And the 6K.
Well, it's said sometimes in the corridors of politics in this African continent that the only lucrative business that sometimes you can venture into in this continent is politics. That's why you'll see professors leaving the classrooms, the lecture halls, joining. You'll see doctors leaving the theaters and procedure rooms, joining politics. That's why you'll see Mwalimu, like Mwalimu, we have him here, leave the classrooms and go for politics.
Not really. Mine is not about the world. Mine is because I have served as a teacher, as a Mwalimu for 31 years. As a principal for 18 years.
Let me hypothesize.
I needed another platform to serve the people of this country.
Good, I wish you the best. However, I'm taken aback to believe just why it's sometimes hammers and tongs just to get political positions in this country. And as a matter of fact, we are making politics become the only thing.
Yes.
And when it becomes the only thing, it becomes like now the only avenue for resource mobilization, the only avenue for resource acquisition, and therefore competition to that position becomes a very dangerous affair at the end of it all. Now, before we get to the next discussion, just what can we do, you see, to deflate our appetite for politics, interest for politics? Because sometimes it's not even interest for politics to go and serve, like you want to go and serve. It's interest for politics to want to go and amass wealth. This country is awash with the people who we knew before they got into politics. And once they're in politics, this guy's livelihoods change dramatically. And you keep wondering, how did this guy just have all this amount of riches in a span of 5 years or 10 years? Something somebody works for nearly 30, 40 years. So, just what can we do?
I think you're just right. I think we had set the stage by saying we need equitable distribution of resources.
So it's resources.
It is resources. What people are looking for is about resources. But also as people join politics, we need to look at the track record of these people. Because there are people who join politics just to amass wealth. But there are people who have genuine concern to serve the people of this country. So I think when we have equitable distribution of wealth, I just say that you will see the appetite for political representation diminishing in this country. Maybe, my friend, you can come in and say...
I agree. Sorry.
From a policy position, just what should we do?
One, Mwalimu Rero has already nailed it on the head. There should be fairness redistribution of the national cake. We're living further. Then the philosophy then of Fotanyayo, for 24 years, then Moi coined a concept, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya, which resonates with political economics, political economy. Politics and economics, they are going together. Where there is stability and the like, the economy will thrive. But we are living in a country where if you are not in the government, then you are abandoned for the next like 2 years until another cycle of election, which has really made this country to go to the dogs in terms of governance. We thank God for the 2010 Constitution that brought forth devolution. In as much as there is a bit of corruption, devolved corruption, but you see the trick effect within the what? Within the county. We need more of the national resources being taken back to the countries, and I'm really happy by you saying that professionals are leaving classrooms to go and serve in policy, legislation, and the like. That is a plus, because we are now headed in the right direction. Let me tell you, we have people who should not be called Mheshimiwa at the county assemblies because they do not know their work. So we have got people in the National Assembly who don't know their work, because their work is legislation, oversight, and representation. But you find an MP stand on the ground that I give bursaries, which is not the work of the what? Of the MP. The work of the MP is to legislate, oversight, and that is the work of the what? The city manager. So we find we need a lot of civic education to our people and allow professionals to dive into the water. I love that deep dive. Malimu, go. Because when we have professionals and the like, we will be having a little bit of fairness, articulation of issues, and we'll be there. Plus, good leadership.
Well, that discussion should have taken another tangent. However, I'll leave it at that because we want to go into what IEBC is doing right now. Gentlemen, I mean, it's 4 months, 5 months to general election. IEBC is proposing a lot of, a myriad of changes into what they want. They want to block the 10 days window for people to jump from parties to become independent. They now want us to go back to manual tallying that will be complementing electronic tallying. Honestly speaking, regular report, followed down to the letter and spirit, denounced things like manual tallying. In 2007, 2008, what brought all this mess is this thing called manual tallying. I mean, after testing it for 2 subsequent elections, why can't IEBC now even up the game of electronic vote transmission? Why must you go back again to kubeba karatasi na kukimbia nayo wherever you want to go? You will find some of them floating in River Yala, some of them in River Nairobi, and we have an election again that will be so chaotic, not even knowing what to do. And then they say in that proposed amendment that the manual report would be the report relied on.
Final, yes.
Should there be any discrepancy? Mwalimu, you are going to these elections. I know you are going to the nominations. Imagine that one happens.
When I look at the lawyers, they can take any side of the coin and they give their reasons, and people still believe. Like the chairman of IEBC is a lawyer. And when he wants to take us back to the dark days and saying using manual tallying, I don't know the word I can use, but it is very ridiculous. And that is not just backwardness. We are in a digital world. We need a digital platform, and we are in a world that we must use electronics to serve the people. And this is something that has been tested. You know, sometimes at the back of my mind, I'm still wondering, or is it because they have not opened that server up today? So they are wondering whether if they use another server, they will be having 2 servers. This is some of the issues really into my mind. But I believe that what is bringing all this? I think most of the time we were not sure whether the IBC, as it is constituted now, will carry on with this kind of election. Remember, sometimes there were just 3 commissioners. And it was very delicate. It was in the courts until the other day, trying to say that the work they had even carried, even the by-elections that had been done, were illegal. You can imagine if the court had made them redundant, and the kind of money that had been spent, and also who is going to pay. So when you look at all this scenario, maybe they are in a catch-22 situation. I don't even know whether they are intended for these firms to carry out the election. That is, I'm just speculating. So maybe because of this, they must look at other ways to implement and say that they are prepared. But from my own perspective, where we have reached after carrying out 2 general elections, digitalized general elections, then you tell us we want to go back to writing papers. It is, you are playing with the minds of Kenyans. It is, what I said is ridiculous. That is the least term you can use to define what the action they are taking. What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, I start from the point that you mentioned a raft of proposals from the IEBC at this late hour of the day when we are about to go to the polls, which is contested, going to be highly contested, because it's passing the baton.
Yeah, it's a
transition election. And at the number two, it's going to be retrogressive. Because how do you move from Tharaka-Nithi of 2008? 2008, huh? 2007, 2008, yeah, where we went to bed with a margin of around 1 million.
1 million.
Yes. And then we woke up in the morning and the tables turned. Then when we had census 10 years later, the population in the entire county of Tharaka-Nithi could not match the numbers of voters who voted against that. So maybe someone is trying to be a bit dodgy and cheeky. We condemn such kind of practices. Number two, the server. We are aware that the court ordered, the Supreme Court actually, the highest court of the land, that the servers to be opened. Chebukati and his team, we were told that they were sleeping. Up to now, I don't know whether they've woken up or they're still sleeping.
France, they say,
France.
Yes. That people are not woken up.
So if you had to go that direction, and the last bit, which is very important, there's a 10-day window period for one to resign and not to participate in another political party, but can go as an independent. But now looking at sealing that will be again disenfranchising people's rights, which is called an inalienable right to seek any office. So that again might end up in court because we are a litigant nation. I foresee that getting into court, which can take a lot of time. So if I was IEBC or their advisor, this again a free pro bono advice that they should implement the things that
they should prepare for the election. We don't have time. Time is actually not on IBC side, not even on our side.
No.
And bringing in changes,
new laws into the game,
towards the 90s.
No, it's not good.
Of the game, is actually disenfranchising the players and even the population at large. Plus, like you mentioned, I think there are elements of constitutional references that are being made in this amendment that must sometimes end up even to the Supreme Court. Because, like you say, if you tell me not to jump ship and run as an independent because I feel disenfranchised somewhere, look at telling my freedom as a person.
Correct.
Yeah, and as a Kenyan. I think that's in the Constitution.
And they will bring forth the public participation and the like, and so on.
Mwalimu, because of time, maybe I just want you to dive into this as we conclude. Now, do you expect IEBC to this time round? Remember, Chibukati is still the chairman. To give us an election that will not have hue and cry, just in 1 minute, sir.
I think having looked at the past elections, you know, history, you look at the past, the present, now you can predict the future. Your guess is as good as mine. But as a politician, because I believe that a day can make a very big difference in politics. Also in the office of Chebukati, 1 day can make a big difference. So long as they are focused to bring to us a credible election. But we are saying that this is not the time for the IEBC to joke around with the lives of Kenyans. They must come out of their cocoon, out of their slumber, and give us the best, credible, and most enjoyable election that Kenyans have ever had. We pray that that is going to be the agenda. We pray that they will not have ill motive, and we pray that they are going to give us free and fair elections. Because I know by that I will be among those who will be contesting.
So
I believe that they will.
You are an interested party.
Yes, I'm very, very interested party.
Mwalimu, in less than a minute, do you expect anything different, knowing so well that Chebukati is still there, and the CEO right now who's been picked to run these elections is
Marjan Hussein? Yeah, I think without pontificating, Chebukati is known to be blowing hot and cold. That was demonstrated in the repeat polls of the presidential elections of last polls, where at one point they were not prepared enough, another point they were prepared, and that ultimately the NASA coalition had to boycott because they had something, the 9 irreducible minimum. How I hoped, because at some point the court ruled that they don't have what the quorum, and now they're the quorum. The secretariat was also limping. Now they got Hussein Marjan, and I only hope and pray that please, Mr. Chebukati, give this country a credible, transparent, verifiable election results.
With all those adjectives, with the adjectives of just wanting to have something good, like he's put it. Now, what made your week?
Yeah, I thought we'd dissect the Azimio coalition and the but what made my week? The presidential and the statesman address at Chatham House by Right Honorable Prime Minister Odinga. I think that was on point. Very, very statesman. For 1 hour 22 minutes was spot on. Oda also did their stuff, but I think I did not like the weaponization that the DP used. He used weaponization 10 times in a span of 52 minutes. And the call for border to go and storm police stations to take their motorbikes, I think that was reckless. Thank you.
Well, so what in this week perhaps you looked at and meant, it doesn't have to be political.
What is about, you know me, I'm a sportsman.
Yeah.
I haven't been the chair of sports in this country.
I think that's why I know you.
Yeah.
I was a sports journalist at some time, very active sports journalist.
Yeah. I'm very sad about Chelsea because of the Russian-Ukraine fight.
Are you a supporter of Chelsea?
No, I'm a sportsman. Me, I'm Arsenal. That has hit my heart, but I believe that Russia will also see the sense, and this fight stops. We can have a stable world.
Thank you very much. These have been two gallant sons of this soil, and they've given us what they think in their honest opinion about what is just happening in our country politically. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for having found time to be with us here.
Thanks. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, and to the viewer, I know it's wonderful. We owe this country everything good to make sure that our future is guaranteed. We have something good to write on, to give to our generations to come, and therefore as a people it is inherent upon us to always sow those seeds that would give this country the best, and the only way to do that is by you and me to always do what is right for us, to make sure that together we harmonize our ability as a country, our diversity and unity put together to get the right antidote. I've been your host for this show. I'm Nico Kello. I was here with Mwalimu Orero, who was once the chair of sports in this country. I also have governance and governance expert here, Mr. Dudi Kenyanito, who've done so well. Thank you very much, the viewer, and I know next week again we shall do it the same way. Don't miss out.